What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. We got a lot of football to talk about today. We're going to do some game picks. Before we get to football, I just want to announce that the Philadelphia 76ers added to their bench. They added Montrezl Harrell for Sixth Man of the Year to a 2-year deal. He has a player option that adds to the first year. He's a solid bench piece. He's a solid inside scorer, pretty good rebounder. Not a very good defender, and he's not a good shooter, but he's a good guy to have for depth. It's good, big man to have on your bench. He can score inside, give you 10 points in the paint, grab you 8, 9 rebounds. He's pretty well traveled. He was with the Clippers for a while. I'm pretty sure he was on the Louisville team that won the national championship. Of course, is a little bit tainted because of the illegal action of their head coach, Rick Pitino, at the time, athletic director Tom Jurich. But I believe he was on that team, and then he was with the Clippers, was Sixth Man of the Year one year. He's also played for the Lakers, and last year was on the Hornets and the Wizards. Now he's with the Philadelphia 76ers. All right, on to our game picks. Let's start with the NFL. Then we'll do college next. First, we got Thursday Night Football tomorrow night. The first regular season game of the NFL season. The Buffalo Bills against the Los Angeles Rams. On Thursday Night Football it's on NBC. I know Amazon's doing some game. I'm not sure if it's on Amazon as well, but you guys can figure it out. Everyone's got Amazon Prime nowadays. But we got Bills Rams. Great choice by NFL for the kickoff game this season. Are the defending champs. They are still an elite team, and the Bills are arguably the Super Bowl favorites this year. I'm going to take the Bills to beat the Rams in week 1. I think the Rams are a great team. I think they win the division. I could see them going back to the Super Bowl again. I think it's possible. But I think the Bills are probably the most well-rounded team in the NFL. Their offense is so loaded. And they got a great defense. They had Von Miller, who played for the Rams last year. I think he'll have a sack or two in this game. The Rams to lose some pieces on the offensive line. I think the Bills are just a little bit better. I think it'll be a great game. I'm excited to watch this game. I'm going to take the Bills. Let's get into our 1 o'clock Eastern time games. We got New Orleans Saints against the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to take the Saints in this one. NFC South rivalry. So it'll probably be a pretty close game, even though the Saints are a team that could be a playoff team and the Falcons might be competing for the number 1 pick of the draft. I think it'll be a little bit closer than people think because it's such a divisional rivalry game. But I am going to take the Saints. I think if they're healthy, they'll be in the playoffs. Jameis Winston, who obviously was terrible in Tampa Bay. I mean, yes, this last year he did throw for over 5,000 yards and 33 touchdowns, but he also had 30 interceptions. In 7 games last year, he had 14 touchdowns against only 3 interceptions. He was playing very well. As long as he was limiting his turnovers. I think a big part of why he struggled in Tampa, I just think, I think the offense he was in was just not a good fit for him. First he had Dirk Cutter as his head coach, and Dirk Cutter was not a good coach at all. And he brought in Bruce Arians, who I think is a very good coach. But Bruce Arians is a guy who just loves to just throw the ball down the field, and Jameis Winston's a guy who came into the league with turnover issues and had turnover issues in the beginning of his career in the NFL. Maybe not the best fit to bring in a coach who just wants to throw the ball down the field 40 times a game. And then last year when he was in Sean Payton's offense, much more balanced offense, before he got hurt, was playing very well. Times are not good. They'll be able to score some points. I like the weapons. If Mike Thomas is healthy with Chris Olave, a talented rookie, and Jarvis Landry, who could still play. Alvin Kamara does not look like he will be suspended, at least not yet. One of the best running backs in the league. I think Marcus Mariota is going to have some trouble against the Saints defense. I'm taking the Saints. Then we got Pittsburgh Steelers against the Cincinnati Bengals. Steelers at the Bengals. I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals, of course, coming off a Super Bowl appearance last year. Lost a close game to the Rams in the Super Bowl last year. I think they'll be one of the best teams in the AFC again. I had them coming out of the North. I think they beat their division rival, the Steelers. I know the Steelers have Mike Tomlin, who's one of the league's best coaches. He seems to always find a way to get into the playoffs. But they're starting to miss Trubisky. Trubisky is terrible, okay? Steelers O-line's a little better. They had James Daniels at guard. We had Mason Cole at center, so their O-line's a little bit better. Still isn't very good. They'll be able to get a lot of pressure on Trubisky. I think they'll force him to make some mistakes. I'm going to take Joe Burrow and the Bengals in that one. Then we got the San Francisco 49ers at the Chicago Bears at 1 o'clock. I'm going to take the Niners. Trey Lance's NFL debut. He is, facing the Bears, a guy making his first career start playing at Soldier Field, his first career start, isn't completely ideal, so I think Lance may make some rookie mistakes in this game. But the Bears defense is not what it was the last couple of years. They lost a bunch of pieces. Last year, they had a great pass rush with Khalil Mack when he was healthy, and then Robert Quinn, he had a big year, and those other guys you had. And they were great against the run, but they struggled in the secondary. They're starting 2 rookies and a second-year player in Jalen Johnson in that secondary. One of the youngest secondaries in the league. They lose Akeem Hicks in the middle of that defensive line. Of course, they lose Khalil Mack, their top pass rusher. And just offensively, their O-line might be the worst O-line in the league. Nick Bosa is going to eat Justin Fields alive. I'm taking the Niners in this one. Even though I could see Lance possibly making some rookie mistakes, just because playing in Soldier Field in that cold weather week 1, especially when he's expected to just waltz into to sunny side San Francisco, could cause some problems. But I think the defense is really going to limit the Bears in this one. Browns and Panthers. This is a revenge game. Baker Mayfield, of course, his very controversial exit to the Cleveland Browns. He is the Carolina Panthers starter now. He's facing his old team in the Cleveland Browns. Browns, of course, will have Jacoby Brissett starting with Deshaun Watson suspended the first 11 games of the season. It's a big game. Baker Mayfield's definitely going to want to win this game, but I'm actually going to take Cleveland in this one. I don't think Brissett is that great of a quarterback. I think he's a very good backup. Could be a good fill-in starter, but, I don't really think he should be going into week 1 as your starter. But the Carolina's defense also, I don't really think it's that good, and I think they'll be able to run the ball really well. He's got Amari Cooper there. Brissett, Cleveland's got a very good defense, especially in their secondary. So I think they could kind of stick it to Baker Mayfield a little bit more than Baker Mayfield will stick it to them. So I'll take Cleveland to win to ruin Baker Mayfield's revenge game. Also, I got the Philadelphia Eagles against the Detroit Lions. I think this is a really close game. I the Lions put a great fight, but I'm going to take the Eagles. I think the Eagles could be this year's breakout team. I think they win the NFC East. I like Jalen Hurts. Now that he's got a real number 1 receiver in A.J. Brown. And, Devonta Smith for another year under his belt. Now he's not, the top receiver there anymore with Dallas Goedert there. How much they can run the ball. They got a good defense. I think they're in store for a really good year. I think the Lions got a lot of weapons on offense, but Jared Goff is not going to be the quarterback there next year. Their defense isn't good, so I'll take the Eagles. Baltimore Ravens at the New York Jets. Probably just been announced that Joe Flacco, the Jets' backup, will start because their second-year quarterback, Zach Wilson, of course, second overall pick last year, will not play, and now we're hearing he's going to be out until week 4, which I'm very upset about. Jets are a cursed franchise. But believe it or not, I'm gonna take the Jets in a huge upset. I'm definitely biased as a big Jets fan, but Joe Flacco, although I do not think his claim that he can still be a starter, which was supported by their head coach Robert Saleh, is true. I think he is a backup at this point in his career, and you'd argue he's kind of washed. But I do think he's at least a somewhat decent backup. If you need him to step in for a couple of games, he can, be serviceable and get the job done. Remember, he played for the Ravens for a very long time, was MVP of the Super Bowl there, and I believe it was 2012, maybe. I think that was about 10 years ago. So, he knows Harbaugh's defense. He knows how to beat the Ravens' defense. And I think the Jets will find a way and get a big upset over the Ravens. Patriots and Dolphins at 1 o'clock. I'm going to take New England. I just don't trust Tua. Okay, I don't have confidence in him. I like him coming in about Alabama. I thought he had a big arm. I thought he was a guy who was not going to turn it over a lot. That he was really accurate, could make plays with his legs. As long as he was healthy, could be a great quarterback. But not only has he had some injury problems, he also has not been able to push the ball down the field. He's been erratic. With the football. He's turned the ball over too much. Outside of making some plays with his legs, he has not been good. I know now he's got Tyreek Hill, and that's what doing well there, and all the weapons they have. He's got a really good committee of running backs now. O-line's a little better. They bring in Terran Armstead, but outside of Armstead, they did not do anything else to improve the O-line. So I still think their O-line is that great. I don't love the Patriots this year, but I think they'll beat Miami. I'm not feeling the Miami Dolphins here. I'm not high on them. I'm concerned with New England as well. I don't think their defense will be nearly as good. I don't know what's going on with the play calling there, but I think Mac Jones and the Patriots get it done against their division rival. Oh, in Bill I trust, I guess. I'll take the Patriots. Jacksonville Jaguars against the Washington Commanders at 1 o'clock on Fox. Jaguars are at the Commanders. So it means the game will be at the dumpster fire is FedEx Field. Hopefully no one gets hurt. But by the way, a report that came out that Commander star edge rusher Chase Young was coming with a torn ACL, aggravated the injury at Von Miller, of course, another star edge rusher. He's on Buffalo Bills, is his camp. And that would make him be injured longer. And the Commanders were not very happy with him. Supposedly now there's a counter report that came out that said that he did not re-injure himself at Von Miller's camp. That's false, and he is on track to play week 1. So it appears they'll have him week 1. I don't think either team is that good, but I'm going to take the Commanders in this one. I think the Jaguars will be better. They can't get any worse, but seriously, I do think they will be better now they have an actual head coach. I don't love Doug Peterson, but they win a Super Bowl with the Eagles in 2017. He's at least an average coach at the very least. And I don't think Carson Wentz in Washington is very good either. But they do, even with Brian Robinson out, they do still have a good run game of Gibson and McKissick, who have been a good duo the last couple of years. He's got some good weapons. He's got a pretty good offensive line. I love their defensive line. I think they'll be able to get some pressure on Trevor Lawrence, maybe make him some mistakes. He is still really young, Lawrence, of course, so I'll take the Commanders. Indianapolis Colts against the Houston Texans. I'm going to take Indy in this one. I like Indy here. I think they come out of the South. Matt Ryan, I think if you put some good piece around him like the Colts have, I think he's still a decent starter. I think Jonathan Taylor, maybe if it's back from the league, runs down Houston's throat. We'll see how Davis Mills does, but Davis Mills, is a guy who third round pick last year, played pretty well considering the circumstances last year. They gave him a starting role this year. He's definitely going to go out and play well this year because the Texans are probably going to have a chance to take a really good quarterback next year. So if he doesn't bull out, he could find himself out of a job next year. I think Davis Mills is kind of like flying under the radar as a guy who's actually under a lot of pressure, even though it's only his second year and his first full year as their starter. But I'm going to take Indy. The first game for Davis Mills against the Indies defense, they're a very stingy defense. So a bit of a tough matchup. I'll take the Colts to win the AFC South battle there. Now we get into, I know a bunch of those games were not too inspiring. It's a lot of crappy teams in those matchups. Now we get into the real good matchups. 425 game. Raiders, Chargers in this one. Obviously, it's fine. They ended the regular season. What was probably the second best game of the entire season and the best game of the regular season. The only game I think was better than their game last year in Week 18 for the winner go home game that the Raiders won in overtime. Incredible game. Was probably the Chiefs Bills AFC divisional round match that the Chiefs won in overtime. I think it'll be a great game. I'm going to take the Chargers. The Chargers are probably thinking to themselves, we are not losing to the Raiders again. We're not bringing back that PTSD. Justin Herbert's a stud. He's got so many weapons. I don't love the Raiders defense. They got a pretty good defensive line. They might be able to get some pressure on the quarterback, but one of the Chargers have a good offensive line too. The rest of their defense is shaky. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, I think we got a lot of pressure on Derek Carr. Derek Carr tends to struggle whenever you get pressure on him. I forgot who said it. If it was Joey Bosa or someone. I think it was an edge rusher in the AFC West kind of said about Derek Carr. So he's a great player. He's a great guy. But he kind of gets, he said something like he gets bottled up when he pressure him, and he's honestly kind of right. Derek Carr, I think, is a very good quarterback. He's a real good solid starter. He's not an elite star, but he's a real good solid quarterback. He's definitely at least an above average quarterback. But once you get pressure on him, he kind of panics and makes mistakes. I think that'll happen. So I'll take the Chargers in this one. Packers Vikings, big NFC North matchup. Packers at the Vikings. It'll be in Minnesota. I think it's a great game, but I am going to take Green Bay in this one. I think, although the Vikings, I think they're going to have a really good offense this year with, now they're throwing the ball a lot more. I think Kevin Stefan's a much better fit than Mike Zimmer for this team. But the Packers also did make some moves to improve their defense this offseason, especially in the draft in the first round with defense with both their first rounders. Took two kids out of Georgia, Deontay Wyatt on the D-line, Quay Walker on linebacker. So I'll take the Packers. They still got Aaron Rodgers. I know the receivers aren't that good, but Talian's a good tight end. I do like Alan Lazard. They got two good backs in Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Like the defense is better, but it still is an elite, so I'll take the Packers in this one. Yeah, but Giants at the Titans, I'm going to take Tennessee. Tennessee did lose Harold Landry the other day, 20 out for the year. Big loss for them. That's a big gut punch. The Giants are a touch better than they were last year, but they're still not a good team. Daniel Jones is their quarterback. He's not good. The Titans defense, I think, will definitely hold the Giants to probably under 17 points. And I think Derrick Henry's going to run right through the Giants defense. I'll take the Titans. Chiefs and Cardinals, real good game. I'm going to take Kansas City, though. I still think they win the AFC West. They still got Pat Mahomes, who people are saying stuff about him. I mean, if you could find me another quarterback who's going into like his fifth year with a Super Bowl ring, a Super Bowl MVP, a regular season MVP, and 5 conference championship appearances and 2 Super Bowl appearances, then maybe we'll talk about him being the problem there. He's still got some good weapons I like. I don't think Travis Kelce and company still there. O-line should be a lot better. I think the defense will be better. You still got Andy Reid. Eric Bieniemy is their offensive coordinator. Outside Tyreek Hill, the whole squad is basically back. Outside Tyrann Mathieu, who they replaced with Justin Reid anyway. Plus they add some other pieces, so I'll take Kansas City. Also, I'm not sold on Arizona either, so I'll take Kansas City. Sunday Night Football, 8:20 on NBC. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Dallas Cowboys, the first Sunday Night Football game without Al Michaels in quite a while. But Chris Collinsworth, I think it's pretty good. Some people don't like him. I think he's pretty good. And then I think Mike Tirico's a really good announcer as well. So don't worry there. Tampa Bay against Dallas. I'm taking Tampa. I'm not a fan of Dallas this year. Whenever Dak Prescott runs into the top competition, he struggles. Obviously, Amari Cooper's gone. Michael Gallup probably isn't going to play. I'll see CeeDee Lamb there and Dalton Schultz, and you got a good run game. But their O-line is going to really struggle this year, I think, without Tyron Smith. Jason Peters, by the way, is washed anyway. He doesn't even like the Cowboys organization. He said it a few years ago. I don't know why he even signed there. Tom Brady's 45. He's dealing with some stuff right now, but as many weapons as he has, especially with Chris Godwin on track to play, Tampa should definitely put up a lot of points. And I think they win probably, honestly. I don't think it'll be that close. And Monday Night Football, 8:15 on ESPN, the debut of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on ESPN. Of course, they both moved from Fox to ESPN, so they'll be doing Monday Night Football, those two. Denver Broncos at Seattle Seahawks, a revenge game for Russell Wilson. A big story came out today about Russell Wilson and his divorce from the Seahawks. Next time I do this podcast, I'm gonna get in. I'll get into that. It's an interesting story. Today we're doing game picks now. Geno Smith is terrible. Okay, he's their new quarterback, and back to the game. Broncos and Seahawks. Broncos win. Russell Wilson's going to be so motivated in this game. Broncos are a really good team. Seattle sucks. The O-line isn't that good. But Bradley Chubb is going to get a lot of pressure on Geno. Geno's going to have a couple turnovers. It's going to be a long year for Seattle with Geno Smith as their quarterback, a bad O-line, and a bad defense. Outside of, they got a couple good young running backs. And Kenneth Walker's a rookie, and Rashad Penny, if he's healthy. They got two really good receivers in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Outside of that, their team is maybe the worst in the league. So I take Denver as Russell Wilson gets revenge on the Seattle Seahawks. So those are my NFL Week 1 game picks. And now let's do some college football game picks. A bunch of these games are probably going to be pretty lopsided because it's college football, but it could be some good ones. Alabama, who is now ranked first in the country, they're playing unranked Texas. The glory days of Texas are gone. Alabama will definitely roll. I know I got this young kid, Quinn Ewers, at Texas, but they're still Texas. Alabama rolls. Maybe not 55-0 like they did last week at Utah State, but I can see that being a 4-touchdown game. 3 seed Ohio State. Ohio State's now ranked third. They're playing Arkansas State. I've never heard of Arkansas State. Ohio State should cruise in that game. 15 Miami versus Southern Mississippi. Miami looked good week 1, put up 70 points. They did not play a good team, but the glory days of the U are long gone as well. They're trying to restore that with Mario Cristobal from our Oregon coach that they bring in. I like him. I think they easily beat Southern Miss. 16 seed Arkansas against unranked South Carolina. I'm going to take Arkansas. Arkansas is a solid team. I like their team. I do like Spencer Rattler. I think he's got potential. But wasn't great last week. 23 of 37, 227, and 1 touchdown. So I'll take Arkansas. 23 seed Wake Forest against unranked Vanderbilt. How Vanderbilt is 2-0, I don't know. How did Vanderbilt get 2 wins before LSU got 1 win? Wake Forest is something special. I mean, outside of Clemson, the ACC, none of these teams are blowing me away. Wake Forest or any of these other teams. Clemson's the only good team in the ACC. But Vanderbilt, they suck. So I'll take Wake Forest. 18 seed North Carolina State against Charleston Southern. I have never heard of Charleston Southern, so I'll take NC State in that one. 13 seed Utah against Southern Utah. Appears to be a rivalry game, and Utah, they plummeted in the ranking from 7th to 13th. Pac-12 had a rough week 1, but I think Utah bounces back and wins this game. So Utah is not good. 8 seed Notre Dame against unranked Marshall. Marshall is not good. Notre Dame, they can't be a good team for their life, but against bad teams, they usually beat up on. So I'll take Notre Dame. 5 seeded Clemson against Furman. I'm not really familiar with Furman. Clemson should win, no problem. This is a really good game. 3:30 on ABC. 24 seed Tennessee against 17 seed Pittsburgh. I'm actually going to take Tennessee in this one. Pitt did beat West Virginia to 1. West Virginia's football team is not that good. And 2, that game was very messy. West Virginia kind of gave that game away. I do like Pitt's quarterback, Caden Slovis, but they really did not play a very good game. Tennessee's not blowing anybody away either, but I'm going to take Tennessee in upset in that one. You got 19 seeded Wisconsin against Washington State. Washington State's not that good. Wisconsin should blow right past them. 2 seeded Georgia against Samford. Pray for Samford. Georgia wins probably a similar score to last week when they beat Oregon 49-3. Georgia last week was ranked 3rd and they're ranked 2nd. 14 seed Michigan State against Akron. I did not know Akron played football. Michigan State should roll in that one. 25 seed Houston against Texas Tech. Texas Tech wasn't even that good when Patrick Mahomes was there. Now he's gone. They definitely ain't going to be any good. Houston isn't a world beater either, but it doesn't get much worse. So I'll take Houston in that one. 17 Oklahoma against Kent State. Oklahoma should roll in that game. We got a big SEC matchup on ESPN. Florida, who's now ranked 12th in the country, against 20 seeded Kentucky. You know what? I'm gonna go a little bold. I'm gonna take Kentucky. I like what I saw from their quarterback last week. He was 21 out of 32. W. Levis. I'm not sure his first name, but I know his last name is Levis. 303 yards, 3 scores. He played very well. They look like they could, at least be ranked for the entire year. I know Florida's now ranked 12th in the country. They got a new coach, but the glory of the Gators are gone. They can take their multi-billion-dollar football facility and shove it up their backside. I'm going to take Kentucky in an upset this year in this game. 22 seed Ole Miss against Central Arkansas. I'm going to take Ole Miss in that game. Central Arkansas, I'm not really familiar with. 10 seed USC right now is the best team in the Pac-12 against Stanford. Pac-12 matchup. USC should win easily. Stanford is terrible. I love David Shaw. He could probably be in an NFL coach, but Stanford I don't think is that good. 11 seed Oklahoma State against Arizona State. I love Arizona State's coach, Herm Edwards, ex-NFL player. He used to be the coach of the Jets. Oklahoma State's really good. I'll take OK State. 4 seed Michigan against unranked Hawaii. Hawaii is terrible. Michigan should roll. And maybe the best game of the week, 10:15 on ESPN. 9-seeded Baylor against 21-seeded BYU. Baylor is really good. They're consistently a top 10 team. They're always right there in the Big 12. I'll take Baylor. So those are my college game picks. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. This weekend, I should be on Twitter Spaces, talking some football, some college, and some pro. Pat Rush, who's in the chat, he's a big part of that. Him and Zach Contrell, another very talented caster on this ColorCast app. They're kind of running a college game day and some of the NFL countdown like show. It'll be on Twitter Spaces throughout the weekend. Don't miss it. I should be there for at least the Sunday portion, and maybe I'll try to catch the college portion of that cast as well. But until next time, so long, and have a great day.